So what is the CMG program like? CMG offers both an education and a grant component. The education component comes first and prepares the congregation to design their new community ministry program. Now, some congregations will come in and they'll already have in mind a new community ministry program they've been thinking about. Similarly, congregations may be coming in without a new idea in mind, but they've discerned a call as a congregation that they want to do something like that. Well, both of those are fine because this is a package deal. You get your education, prepares you to finalize and really get a clarity on the new community ministry project that you want to propose for the grant. But if you're a congregation that has already completely designed your community ministry program, you've crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and you know exactly what you want to do, the only thing that is not yet done is finding the funding, the community ministry grant is not for you because it's both an education and an opportunity to apply for funding. So let's talk about the education component of the CMG. There are 4 days for education. The first day is on June 8th. It's a half-a-day learning, and required to attend that event will be the senior pastor, senior clergy, and a key lay leader. Together you'll come for a half a day of learning. And what we'll focus on that day is the necessity of building a strong team to lead your congregation through the CMG program. We'll be giving you strategies and tips about how to identify the right people for the team and recruit them. And then you'll have from June until October, which is our first full education day, to recruit your 5-member team. Just to keep in mind, though, as you recruit, that all 5 members of that team will need to commit to attending the 3 full-day education sessions, 2 in the fall of 2016 and 1 in the winter of 2017. So it gets to be October 6th, and you have your 5 people of a team. And our first education day will focus on listening. And what you'll be listening to, or invited to listen to, is your own congregation. What assets, strengths, and passions does your own congregation have that they would be willing to do the kind of work that they're going to have to do in order to participate in a new community ministry program? What do they care about enough that they'll be willing to do it? On this first learning day, as you'll be learning how strategies and ways to listen to your congregation. And this is the first part of the finding what we call the sweet spot in the intersection between where your congregation's passions and assets for community ministry intersect with your targeted community's assets and passions and needs. So this is that first part of finding the sweet spot. The good news is that when you leave that day, you'll be given the task to go and implement your plan for listening to your congregation, but you won't have to do it alone. You'll be provided with coaching. The CMG provides every congregation with 2 full days at 16 hours of free coaching provided by experts in community ministry. And what those coaches will do, you'll meet them that first ed day, and they'll work with you to help you implement your program, keep you on task, and basically have your back as you work through the work of the CMG. We gather back together in December 1st, and our second day of learning will be the second part of that intersection. You'll be introduced to strategies and ways to do careful, systematic listening to your targeted community. And walking away again with a plan for doing that, for carrying that out, knowing that you'll have your coach to help you implement your work. Finally, as we come together for the third day, you'll have been listening to your congregation, you'll have been listening to your targeted community. The ideas are percolating. You have a good idea now for what your new community ministry program is really going to look like. That third day, putting the pieces together, helping you sort through the data, fine-tune your program so that you can prepare then to get ready to apply for the matching grant that'll help you pay for that program. So just to review, congregations at this CMG really fit. Most of the congregations probably listening to this, the ones in the middle. The ones who, though, are on the one extreme, you may be thinking that community ministry is a good idea, but as a congregation, you haven't really discerned a call to it. It may just be one or two people's good idea. On the other extreme, you may be a congregation who could teach our course. On the outsides of those, probably not a good fit. It's the folks in between that this community ministry grant would really fit. Now, what community ministry programs will be eligible for funding, or at least for applying for matching funding? The key thing to remember is that community ministry programs that emerge from the work you do in the education section of the CMG, where you're doing the listening to your congregation, you're doing the listening to your community, and out of those two, your new community ministry program emerges, will be most likely to be eligible for funding. Some community ministry programs will clearly not be eligible for funding, and they're spelled out in your hand and the guidelines online, but I'm going to read them to you carefully now. The first would be those involving political activity. Political activity is activity directed toward the success or failure of a political party, a candidate for a partisan political office, or a partisan political group. Secondly, the CMG is not intended to fund social advocacy programs, and social advocacy defined as activities designed to change the law or denominational policies. An example of that might be social advocacy to change the law in Indiana in regard to receiving Syrian refugees. That would not be fundable or eligible for funding under this community ministry grant.